Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Welcome everyone to the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. We are back, and this is a show where we talk to Black women and men who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This podcast is where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the BIT community. If this is your first time checking out this podcast, you can find us at the following URLs. We're at www.blacksandtechnology.net. We are also on Twitter at Black and Technology, and that's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram under Blacks and Technology. Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization that is dedicated to increasing the representation and participation of Black women and men in the technology industry. We always focus on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us, or if you want to sponsor one of these podcasts, send us an email to contact us at blacksandtechnology.net. All right, so tonight our guest is Nadiyah Johnson. Nadiyah is a graduate from Marquette University. She is also a technical product manager in data analytics at a Fortune 500 healthcare company. And she's also a founder of Jet Constellations, which is a local software company that functions to promote STEM education in Milwaukee. They consult tech-oriented startups, and they focus on building a nurturing ecosystem of techies and entrepreneurs. She was named 40 Under 40 through the Milwaukee Business Journal, as well as Top Mogul Millennial of 2019 through Mogul Millennial. So I want to welcome Nadiyah to the show. Hey, Nadiyah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate you coming on. So we're going to jump right into it. Give us a little bit about your background. Tell us where you're from, your education, all that stuff.
Sure, yeah, where to start? So, as you said, I'm a graduate of Marquette University. I got my bachelor's in computer science, and then I went on to get my master's in computational science. And crazy enough, I'm still in school, pursuing further education in the computational science arena. So I fell in love with computer science around my sophomore year in college. Definitely had its struggles for sure. But because of all the amazing potential and capabilities of technology that was revealed to me, I really fell in love and decided to take my journey to a new level and started my own company, Jet Constellations, and the Milky Way Tech Hub.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about your time at Marquette and alma mater. If anybody or never heard of has never heard of Marquette, that's the alma mater of Dwayne Wade. I think he's like one of the most famous
Yeah.
athletes to come out of there.
Yes, he is. He's the most famous, amazing basketball player. Yeah, I had a very interesting experience at Marquette University, and it continues. I started my career at Marquette in international politics, and things were going okay. But I remember, and I'm just gonna be real with you, my father, like, legit just was like straight up with me and said, "Hey, do you want to make some money?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, you might want to try your hand at computer science and switch your major." And I knew that I wanted something that was a bit more challenging than what I was already in. And so I made that jump, and man, it was the best decision that I've ever made thus far in my adult life. But there were definitely some challenges going in. My, first class, I was looking around my intro to Java, and I was the only Black person. Um, I think there were very few women. I don't even remember if there were any women in the room, and it was just Marquette's a predominantly white institution, so it was a real student tied white guy, as I always say. And I realized very quickly that my peers in the room had been programming since they were like really young, and I was brand spanking new to it. So I felt pretty out of place right away. And the challenges continued. I remember I got a 26% on my first calc exam, and it was just I was reaching some pretty lows, low lows, and grateful. I'm grateful though that I had some professors that helped me and encouraged me to continue on my journey. And eventually, I put enough effort and time and sort of got the hang of it, and was able to graduate with my degree.
Excellent. Shout out to Pops for
Yeah, yeah.
for that life changing advice there.
For
Um,
sure, for sure. It definitely was life changing. And it's also a really good example of how representation is so important. I can't say that or emphasize that enough. He is actually a software engineer himself. And so it was, his experience that sort of led him to invite me to the space. He saw that I was toying around with a Rubik's Cube, and he was like, hey, if you're good at that, you're going to be good at algorithms. And of course, he knew that because of his experience in the space. So.
that's very interesting because I'm pretty sure he's had his trials and tribulations as a black software engineer himself. But it's also great that he encouraged you, even though he knew some of the challenges that you would have to face, being at that intersection of being a woman and being black as well. So let me ask you this. So you say you faced some challenges at Marquette and that, there were some professors there that helped you out. How did they help you kind of navigate not only like the rigors of the academics, but also were there any professors that kind of helped you deal with, I guess, just the environment as a whole as being just like, one of not only one of the only black people, but maybe one of the only women in a lot of your classes as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why when I describe my STEM journey, I like to touch on the three pillars: I can, I will, and I must moments. When I say I can't, when I refer to the I can moments, I think that that's more around folks who sort of showed me that it's possible, right? And that was sort of my father. And then when I think of the I will moments, it's folks that really helped me to commit, and that's where the professor sort of took um, uh, a role in my STEM journey. There were times where, as I said, I was like failing. I laugh about it now. It was real awful. And I remember like having tears in my eyes and going to my first calc professor. And I was like, hey, am I in the wrong field? Like, is this normal? She assured me like, no, this is normal. Like 26% is not something that you should like be okay with. Um, and so I asked her, I said, hey, should I pivot? Is this something that's not for me? And she, instead of her, her telling me like, hey, this isn't for you, or, yeah, you need to switch, she was like extremely encouraging. She gave me, a second chance, told me like, if you, are able to do a far better in your next exam, I can think about, waiving this or, figuring something out where you could take the first exam over, something like that. And so she was just extremely understanding of the space that I was in, which is just brand spanking new. And the way that I'll describe, coming to computer science, like fresh, is like stepping into a foreign country and nobody is, paying attention to you, classmate wise, and it seems like everybody's headed in some direction. They're all speaking a different language, and nobody can help you, right? So I think she had a good understanding of what I was dealing with, and so she had that level of compassion, and just told me like stick around and let's try again. And I remember after scoring 26%. She sat with me hours, something we called a help desk. 8 o'clock in the morning, I was there. 6 o'clock, I got there and left at 12. And, she's helped me out. And the second time around, I ended up with an 86%. That's when I knew I was like, hey, if I really try, if I really put in the effort, I can do this. So that's all she wrote.
That's that's excellent, and I think you bring up a good point around compassion and empathy, and I'm pretty sure her being a woman, probably had something to do with that level of compassion, right? She probably went through some of the same
Hmm.
as you had, with maybe being one of the only women in the department, and so she was able to understand where you were coming from and understand some of the struggles. And so when I think about that, and I think about the Blacks in Technology community. Um, a lot of people may not know, but we have a Slack group that has close to 3,600 people there. And one of the things that always stands out to me is that whenever there's an issue or a problem, or someone is having an issue at work, or they're just trying to figure it out, navigate their space, there's always someone in the bit community that can empathize with what they're going through, what that person is going through, and offer advice, encouragement, motivation to say, "Hey, stick with this. Here's some advice. Here's some nuggets that you can utilize in your workspace," and that goes a long way, especially coming from people within your community. It's that almost inherent trust
Yeah.
that's there, that people gravitate towards. So you say that your was it your sophomore year in college is when you switched to computer science?
Yeah, so I was like already a year behind. It was tough.
So and your dad played a big part in helping you make that decision. How like how did that occur? Was it just like a conversation? Because everyone has their story about getting into tech. Was it an instant decision for you, or did you have to think about it, or how did that transpire?
I don't know if I had to think about it. I just knew that, freshman year, a lot of folks don't really know what they're doing. They're just, getting their feet wet, trying to understand like what college is all about. So that's where I kind of was, is just, keeping my head above water. And I think it was becoming pretty clear to my parents that um, I enjoyed international politics. I wasn't being super challenged, and I didn't know exactly a clear route after college, like what sort of career to pursue. And I know my father. It was very important to him that I did have a good understanding of next steps. And I remember just having a conversation with him, and he was saying like, you should try your hand at computer science. And he was talking to me about how, I didn't develop websites in the past, but I was like really interested in like designing them, right? And making them look aesthetically pleasing. And at that time, it was like 2011. WordPress was, starting to pop off, and I was like playing around with drag and drops, and I had my little blog. And so he just let me know, like, hey, you're good with algorithms, Rubik's Cube, and it seems like you're really intrigued with UX. Maybe give it computer science a try. And so I'm so glad that I did.
Nice, very nice. Again, shout out to Pops for recognizing that hidden talent that you had, and helping to bring it out. Excellent.
For sure, for
So,
sure.
what was your first job out of college?
So coming out of college, I think actually I was still in college. My first internship was We Energy, so Wisconsin Electric, I think that's what they call it, electric company here. And I was in the data asset space. And so it was really interesting. I actually have a little story that I share on a regular basis about my first experience um, in the tech space. Every internship, typically they're in the summer, and after the 6 months or so, you're supposed to report out to the different CIOs or VPs or whatever in what you've been working on. So I put in so much work and effort into killing this presentation. I get up there and I do extremely well. And so everyone is, knocking on my cube and letting me know, like, hey, you did great, you did great. And finally, my boss comes around and she knocks on my cube and she's like, hey, can I speak to you? And I'm like, yeah. So she brings me into what they call an enclave, which is just a small room with no windows. And I thought that was strange. And so she closed the door, and the first thing that came out of her mouth was, hey, we got to do something about your hair. Like, I need you to tame your hair. She used the word tame. And I remember thinking, like, really? Like, I practiced for weeks on this presentation. Like, I've been killing it at work. And the first thing you have to tell me is, like, you didn't like that I had my fro. So, yeah, after that, I was just like, whew.
Wow.
Yeah, it was extremely discouraging, and I was not. Happy
Welcome to
about
tech.
that.
Welcome to technology.
Right,
That's
exactly, exactly. And unfortunately, there's too many experiences like that. Um, and it kind of discourages folks from, getting into the field.
yeah, and it's unfortunate. Um, I mean, and I never. I mean, I've always kept my hair low, and now I'm bald, so I've never had to experience that. But I read about it all the time, and it's so disheartening. Like out of everything, it's really it seems just like a what's a good word? Like a battle, like almost kind of like this going to war against you as
Yeah,
your
who we
your
are
whole persona. Yeah, and
and
it's
how we're born. Like, what are we talking about?
yeah, because at that point it's not even about it's not about technical aptitude. It's not about skills. It's not about effort or anything like that. That you would think like, hey, if there's something going on in the workplace, these are the things that you would pinpoint and say, hey, you need to fix this. It's no, it's and the word I was thinking of is assault. It's a total assault against who we are. It's just us being us, but yet there's a problem with that, which is incredibly yeah. I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through that. That's unfortunate. And so
Yeah, it is.
how
But
did you
it,
deal with that?
well, so I didn't know how to deal with that at the time. I think I was, how old was I? I was, just trying to get into the space, and I knew I wanted to turn that internship into a full-time position, and so you just didn't really. I didn't have the words at the time. I do now, of course. um, but I definitely understood that it wasn't right, and um, it actually propelled me later on to um, understand that I wanted to create a solution for things like this in the tech industry, and ended up starting my own company.
So tell us a little bit about your job currently as a technical product manager. Like what does that job entail?
Yeah, so product management is all about developing a product or tool, device of sorts um, that adds value to your customers, right? And in doing so, it means having to wear a lot of hats. So you ideate, you work with the end customers to make sure that you're building out the right product, and then you have to make sure that there's enough benefits and you're hitting the bottom line for the business, and you have to wear a marketing hat every now and then, and figure out how to pitch it to the business so that you can get the funding that you need, and then you end up being a people manager, leading folks on the development side, and um, on the functional side, and helping them to communicate so you can execute and bring the product to life. So it's definitely a very dynamic position, and one that I've enjoyed quite a bit, especially because I get to leverage a lot of my skill sets from my degree.
If you don't mind, let's break a little bit of that process down for people who may not know. Kind of, I'm a DevOps engineer, so I work with developers and I work with project managers and all that stuff all the time. So I
Mhm.
kind of know um, the ins and outs of what product managers do, but some of our audience members may not. That's because one of the things that I heard. A good phrase around what a product manager is they're the CEO of their specific product, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I like that.
yeah, and so kind of break down kind of what that process is from idea and taking it kind of all the way through that pipeline to an actual product.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's a matter of understanding where the gaps are, right? And it can happen a number of ways. You can just be, um, speaking with customers and realizing like, hey, this is a need, or speaking with your managers or leadership, right, and understanding what their bottom line is, which is maybe increase revenue by 30% or something like that, right? And then you sort of have to go looking for the gaps in that case, right, and try to figure out how you're going to do that. At any rate, though, it's all about concept, like the ideation phase first, right? And starting to understand how you can um, transform a process, or a business operation, or maybe even disrupt um, a current process, replace it, or figure out how you can bring about value, right, to the business. Um, and in that process, it's understanding who our end customer is, right? Getting a good sense of that customer profile, what the pains are that they experience, what the gains are, so like what it is that their target outcomes are, and then understanding like um, from those things, what you can develop to meet those gaps. And so it's a level of research that has to go into that as well. We have what we call Gemba walks, which is sort of understanding the as is process with the customer. Um, Understanding the certain processes that they carry out today. And again, that sort of helps you to outline where their pains are and where the gaps are. And from there, you can begin to start to um, develop that product. Yeah, so once you have the idea in place, it's a matter of prototyping, circling back with the customers, making sure that this you have the same idea in mind, and then market it for sure, so that you can get the funding that you need and start putting a team together. Every now and then, I spin up a POC or something like that, and then pitch it out to my boss, and if they like it enough, you can get enough funding. You can, as so long as you can show that it's going to bring about value, right? Um, they provide the funding, and then you're off to the races with your team, and that's the fun part, right? Connecting the actual developers. Sometimes the developers are in house, other times they're international. With the product owners or the functional team, gaining the requirements, and then start moving it ahead.
Definitely, thank you for that breakdown. Some there might be someone out there who doesn't know what a product manager is, or what they do. So I appreciate you giving us that breakdown.
Yeah, for
So let's
sure.
let's let's definitely talk about Jet Constellations.
Sure.
I mentioned it in the introduction, but give us your I guess your pitch about what Jet Constellation is, and what Jet Constellation does.
Sure. Jet Constellations is a software company at its core. It initially began as a consulting firm. In 2017, I started to hear some buzz about Milwaukee transforming into a tech hub. And when I was in these rooms at these, different events in the outskirts of Milwaukee, I looked around, and again, very suit and tie, white guy. There were no black people, barely any women. I'm like, how can you create a new narrative about a city without including a good majority of the city in that narrative? So at that point in my STEM journey, I'm like, all right, I've been experiencing lack of representation in academia, research, corporate, and now I'm looking at this new startup space, and y'all are like tripping. So I'm like, enough is enough. And so I started Jet Constellations and wanted it to be a consulting firm to help sort of bridge that gap and to help Black people, women, the most needed folks in technology today, to get into this space and make some headway in Milwaukee. I soon realized that even when folks got the funding for their products, they had a hard time developing the product and getting it out to the market. And that's when we quickly transformed into a software company where we build custom software for people.
So you pretty much have two full-time jobs.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So Jet Constellations is a for-profit, but I like to say we're for-profit. We're also for the people, and so that for the people part is where the Milky Way Tech Hub initiative comes into play, and that's our initiative to create a narrative for the city of Milwaukee that is the best and most diverse and inclusive tech hub in the nation.
Nice, nice. And what's uh, the meaning behind the name Jet Constellations?
Jet Constellations. Well, there is some significant meaning behind it for sure. Um, so I often say, and it's the truth. I love space, right? And so when I give that explanation that I just, happen to really love space and stars, and that Jet has that sort of launch and takeoff connotation, that's enough for most folks. But an additional layer is that Constellations is all about, to me, it's about um, having different pieces come together to form something beautiful, right? Different partners, technology entities in this case, come together and form a bit of a hub of sorts, right? An ecosystem. And of course, Jet is more than just a mode of transportation, but also it means black. So it's a beautiful thing.
Very nice. I like that. I like that. I like the constellation part of that. That's pretty dope. Love it. So let me ask you this: what services? I know you said you do like software development. Is it are you doing the full gamut of front end, back end, mobile? Like what? Tell us a little bit about. Um,
Yeah. So we develop e-commerce sites and web apps and mobile applications are our specialty. A custom software, though, I mean, we have full stack developers on hand. And the only thing that we don't touch on right now is gaming, but I'm excited to be starting to make headway later on this year into that space. So, yeah, it's a lot to offer for sure, and I'm excited to continue on the process. I mean, we're a startup ourselves. Another service that we provide through our Milky Way Tech Hub arm, again, which aims to sort of create that narrative that Milwaukee is as a tech hub. We focus on building entrepreneurs in the tech space, right? And so we have an accelerator where folks come in with just the ideas, and we help them to bring their ideas to life, right? Or what we say, take it to the next level. So we go from ideation all the way to building out their MVP one and helping them to pitch out their ideas. In fact, I'm just getting back from a pitch night where one of our startups pitched to several investors this evening.
Very nice. So let me ask you this question. Um, where did you find the cloning machine at to clone yourself in order to be able to do all this stuff? I'm trying to find one
It's
myself.
crazy that you say that because there's like a running joke in the city that I have a twin, and I don't. I don't have a twin. I'm just exhausted. I'm very transparent about the process. It is very exhausting. Because GE is more than just a full-time job for sure, and Jet Constellations is more than just one full-time job. It's, when you're CEO of a startup, you're doing everything, right? From making the graphics for your Instagram um, to sending out the newsletters and editing the blog posts and the articles that go out. And so, of course, we built a team, and I'm able to delegate quite a bit these days, but it is quite exhausting.
Yeah, you know what, I can totally empathize with you. I know for years, I was pretty much running Bit primarily by myself,
Mm,
and just probably within the last couple of years, I really started receiving a lot more help,
yeah.
different things, and so it is exhausting, but it's rewarding. It's almost like a crusade. That's what I like to tell people. Like this is a crusade of mine. But let's hear. I want to hear it from you. Like what this is. Obviously, it's a lot of work. Obviously, there's days where you probably are just like flat out just ready to throw in the towel and say I'm tired today. I'm not. But what's your motivation besides just being wanting to be your own independent and things like that? What's your motivation?
That's a great question. I find motivation um, in my journey and the journey of others. I know that my life's work is here in the city of Milwaukee, without a doubt, at least in this phase of my life. And understanding the significance of the work that my team is doing, um, is a great and consistent motivator for me. I understand that there are people in this city who are looking to transform Milwaukee into a tech hub, but do not care to include Black people in the conversation. In fact, are too afraid to even say the word Black, which pisses me off. Can't tell you. So, because I'm aware of the different or just the tech scene here in Milwaukee. I know
Hmm.
that there is a reason for or a purpose behind the Milky Way Tech Hub, and there's a need for sure.
Right.
So it keeps me going.
Gotcha. Yeah, and again, everything that you said right there, and like I can empathize with, because there's when you start seeing like these disparities, and you know that there is outside forces just trying to keep us out of these spaces. There's something inside of you, at least I know there is for me, that just drives me and drives me, because there's some times where I'm just like, you know what, um, I'm it's so hard to fight at times that you kind of get tired, and you just like, why is it so hard? Why is it just not clear that that black people are beneficial to this industry, and we're beneficial to your bottom line, and you should make us important. Like, that's just what it should be. There should be no disparities. And there's some days where that you fight this for so long, you go through it so much, that you just kind of want to just throw in the towel. And then you get those someone will come up and say, hey, I really appreciate you starting something like this, or they'll have this testimonial where something that you've done has impacted them. And then that work, and you see that work, and you just like, I got to keep going, because this is much needed. And even though it's exhausting, even though there's ups and downs, I have to do this. We have to make an impact, and so I commend you. I commend you for that, because it's not an easy task to take on something like that. To kind of take this kind of crusade in your own hands, and run with it. So I definitely commend you for that. What's up, everyone? We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. Do you or someone you know have a dope story that they want to share with our BIT audience? Blacks in Technology is seeking guests to be on our podcast. We're looking to highlight the journeys and experiences of Black women and men in the tech industry. So if you know of someone, send them our way. Shoot us an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net, or click on the link in the show notes and fill out our form. We're looking to hear from you. So, how big is the Jet Constellations team? How many people do you have?
Yep. So we have a team of 6 on the functional side. Our software developer spans from around
Okay,
20. Yep.
gotcha. And are you all hiring right now, or how's that?
Yes, we are always hiring, it seems. Looking more for interns right now, though, in the marketing side of things. Yeah.
What's the industry out there? What's the tech industry like in Milwaukee?
Yeah, about 10 years ago, it'd be easy to say there is no tech scene. So we have come a long way. We have a very, I'd say, a quickly growing
Mm-hmm.
tech ecosystem here, one that I'm proud of. Um, the goal of the Milky Way Tech Hub is to create an ecosystem where there's funding and support and legal help, that all are invested in our mission, which is to drive more diversity in Milwaukee's tech ecosystem, right? And so as we continue to grow, Milwaukee's tech ecosystem continues to grow, right? And I'm so grateful to see some of the amazing startups that are starting to bud here in the city. I just got back from a pitch night where I saw a couple of awesome startups surface. Crowd Canvas is one that aims to connect volunteers. Um, in the city of Milwaukee to canvas leaders to help drive different impact related campaigns. And there's another one I heard of. Fiveable, I think, based here in the city of Milwaukee, growing. They just raised like $600,000 or so, I believe. Um, their educational platform. It's a lot of amazing startups, and these the two I just mentioned are, I believe, the founders are both Black people. Um, yeah, and so it's cool to grow as a startup ourselves, but to also help other startups to grow is super cool to see, and something that I'm continually trying to um, uh, highlight through our Milky Way Tech Hub initiative, and sort of um, create a national narrative that Milwaukee is the Milky Way Tech Hub, right? And so that's kind of why we really focus on entrepreneurship and in our accelerator, and host these pitch nights or pitch competitions where we give away some funds, seed funding.
Very nice. I'm going to say a couple of things about what you just stated. One is send those people my way. Because we love to interview entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs, and we would love to get them on a podcast to talk about their startup and talk about their
Sure,
journey.
absolutely.
So send them our way,
Okay.
and let's talk, about doing something, doing an article or something on Milky Way Tech Hub. Like I would love for our audience to know more about it, and to help promote what you all are doing in the city of Milwaukee. So
Oh, I really appreciate that. I mean, the whole thing is that we're trying to create this national narrative. Unfortunately, there are too many articles that are circulating about the city of Milwaukee that
mm,
highlights the negative parts, right? So I'm not sure. You said you don't know too much about Milwaukee. We're home of 53206, which is the zip code which incarcerates the most Black men in the nation. There are statistics that are just as unsettling that I can list, but I won't. And
right,
so, as these statistics and different articles continue to circulate around the nation, right,
mm,
it's upsetting because I was born, raised, and educated here, and I know that there are some amazing things about Milwaukee. Yes, it has its gaps, but one of the things that we're doing through with the Milky Way Tech Hub is we're actively creating an environment where Black people can um, take control of the narrative by using technology, leveraging it to, um, solve solutions for our city, which is why we host our annual Milky Way Tech for Good pitch out, which has a focus on impactful, social impact oriented technology startups.
and it's a and again, I commend you. Like you're taking the words right out of my mouth. Things that I've said in the past, especially around controlling your own narrative. And like I say that so often,
Yeah, it's
uh,
important.
and mainly because you, with it, in tech, I'm dealing with, especially running something like Blacks in Technology, um, and just coming up through tech as a career, just dealing with seeing like articles around Black people in tech written by non-Black people, right? And the first thing that they want to key on is some type of downtrodden background that we had. Oh, this person was ex-con, and those types of articles,
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, we always have to get lifted out of the gutter in order to be successful,
absolutely.
and it's like, oh, that's almost as if like we're a monolith, and all of us came from that type of
Mm,
background, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
so that was a mission of mine, when I started Blacks in Technology, was like, not only do we want to create this community, but we also want to control our own narrative. And that's why, when we put out articles, you rarely, if ever, see an article talking about how, oh, tech is a terrible place to work for Black people, right? Like I'm highlighting our people, right? I'm highlighting the people who are making strides in technology. Not that I'm dismissing any of the horror stories out there, because those those come along with the highlight as well. But what I'm saying is that hey, we need to make sure that we control our own narrative, because if we don't, somebody else will do it, and it's probably not going to be favorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's been articles, literally the headline says Black or Milwaukee is the worst place for Black people to live or to raise a child. And it hurts my heart. And I think that part of the Milky Way Tech Hub purpose is to combat that narrative, right? And it's completely shifted. It's not just about getting us into technology, but it's about uplifting the community and using technology as a tool. And so that's why I know that there's so much impact here in this initiative.
Very nice. When did you start the Milwaukee? I'm sorry, the Milky Way Tech Hub.
Yeah, I started January 2019 with the Milky Way Tech Hub initiative under Jet Constellations.
And how many? And you say it's an accelerator program. Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, so the Milky Way Tech Hub, I mean, the overall goal is to output successful startups, right? Because that's really what makes a tech hub successful. I mean, you could say any city is a tech hub until you blue in the face, but the fact of the matter is, so you have some successful exits, right? Um, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? Is start having some successful exits. Um, to establish Milwaukee as a tech hub. Now, the goal that makes ours unique is that we're calling the entire city of Milwaukee the Milky Way Tech Hub, and creating a narrative that Milwaukee is, the most inclusive and diverse place, right? So that we can attract Black people, women, and people of color, right? So we do so by focusing on three pillars. So we've got STEM education. We'll be making an exciting announcement within the next couple of months on our developments in that sector. But we take a traditional and not so traditional routes in educating the community. I'm into going into classrooms and like legit spending just a quick 8 hours, like take a day to educate the students on the product development life cycle, get them to pitch out in front of some venture capitalists that we partner with, right? And it's that exposure necessary, right, to open their eyes to tech, kind of like what my father did for me, right? And so I'm starting to look more into how our companies can, get into the prison system and homeschooling too, which I think these spaces are a little bit of not enough attention, a little bit neglected in the STEM education space. The second pillar we focus on again is entrepreneurship, and that's where our accelerator comes into play. So, helping folks take their ideas from the ideation phase to a minimum viable product to market, and then of course helping them to raise the funds and equipping them with the resources necessary to get in front of investors, which is always great, right? And at different times in the year, we have our own pitch events where we'll hand over like a big check to someone based on the judges um, score. So it's always nice, right? Because sometimes when you pitch in front of investors, you don't hear back from them for a while. But those like pitch competitions, you get the money right away, and that I think is what's going to help us to help get the narrative out there when there's money involved and right away. So actually, we had our pitch competition back in November, and we opened it up to the entire nation. We had some folks from Atlanta and North Carolina come, and both folks from outside of the city won, which caused a little bit of a stir here in the city. But I mean, in order to create a national narrative, you got to invite folks. So yeah, Atlanta came in and took the whole thing.
They want the national narrative, but they want the money local.
Right, right. So I'm like, listen, like if we're gonna really do this, we gotta, let the world know that there's some money here and there's things going on here in the city. And so that means that the folks here in Milwaukee are gonna have to step it up a little bit and take their game to the next level. So I think we're up for the challenge for sure though. So that was interesting. Anyways, I digress. The last pillar that we focus on is community. So at least once a month we have our community meetups, and as of late we've begun to partner with amazing organizations like Code for Milwaukee, and other organizations that are very much invested in our mission. And so we'll be focusing on product development for the next couple of months, which is exciting.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Uh, Definitely a lot going on. So how many I guess cohorts or how many companies have come through Milky Way Tech Hub?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to say 10 right now.
Okay,
Um,
that's pretty good.
in my
Year
head,
and a
we
year.
got about 10 folks that have came in. We're raising funds right now to scale our startup, or excuse me, scale our accelerator programs that we can bring in and more folks at a time. Um, More staffing, of course, and also start bringing in levels of expertise outside of the city of Milwaukee, right? Because I think it's important to have perspectives from different cities, especially ones that have been successful. So I'm excited for that.
And so you said the Tech for Good pitch is part of that. Tell us a little bit about a little bit more about that.
Yeah, happy to. So, about midway through 2019, I knew that, like, hey, in order for us to start, really shaking stuff up, we're gonna have to start partnering with some good corporate citizens, right, that have the money. And so, American Family, um, Social Impact Institute reached out to us, and we, had some good conversations. And right away, they were just they really seemed to take to our mission, and we were able to solidify a great partnership with them as presenting partner of the Milky Way Tech Hub. So they're working alongside us to help create this a new national narrative for the city of Milwaukee. And so our partnership is focuses on building a healthy startup ecosystem, which obviously um, involves driving diversity in tech. And with their partnership, we were able to start off with our first pitch competition. Um, uh, we called it the Milky Way Tech for Good Pitch Out, which focuses on startups that have a social impact um, angle. Um, but not exclusive to social impact, but as a heavy focus.
And what are some of like some of the notable, I guess, companies or pitches that you've heard come out of Tech for Good?
Yeah, well, I know, I think Style Q, which was a pretty great startup. They weren't super social impact oriented, but still amazing startup that we allowed to come through the pitch. Their product is around connecting stylists, hairstylists, and clients in real time, kind of like the Uber model, which is really cool. Um, Crowd Canvas, which is the startup that I mentioned earlier, that connects volunteers with Canvas or campaign leaders. Um, Another one was Minorities to Majorities, which is an opportunities apps for the underrepresented folks. So presents different scholarship opportunities and such to um, Black and brown people, women, and people of color. So there's a lot of great startups that came through there, and those are just a few. I think we had about seven. So I hate I'm forgetting one that was really good. Life Tagger, that's right. Life Tagger was good too. I encourage folks to look Life Tagger up. They've been through some national pitch competitions, I think. They were another great startup. And they didn't actually have a super social impact focus either. But again, we weren't exclusive to social impact, and wanted to again sort of just I think our main focus, especially during that first pitch, was to highlight some of the amazing diverse startups here in the city.
We talked about you as an engineer. We talked about you as an entrepreneur and founder. So I know that you have some amazing advice for other aspiring Black women out there. Just as, give us some advice to for Black women who are trying to make their mark or just trying to navigate the tech industry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess the first bit of advice is trust yourself. Know that um, you already have it within you to be successful. Um, you don't have to look outside of yourself. You have it. You just have to hone those skills that you were born with. Um, you might be in a setting where people do not look like you, talk like you, or want to embrace you. Um, but there is a special gift of being underestimated, and I will leverage it. Because when you're underestimated, they don't see you coming. Which is why I think I've been able to make such amazing traction with this Milky Way Tech Hub thing. Um, I don't think the mayor knows what to do with me, honestly. So, um, and let's see what else. I guess just understand like when you're in the corporate spaces, your ideas are literally just as impactful, if not more so, than the suit and tie white guys. Everybody, VP, CEOs, and down put their pants on one leg at a time. So don't be scared to share your ideas.
I like that. I like that a lot because what it all boils down to is having confidence in yourself and confidence in who you are and your skills. And because especially in tech, it's easy to kind of be intimidated uh, by other people, especially when you're not in a majority. And it's sometimes easier to kind of hide and not speak up and not tell say what's on your mind and things like that. But I tell everybody, especially when it comes to like this employees and employee relationships in corporate America, is that this is a mutual agreement. This is not a one-way thing. Yeah, they pay you, but they pay you for services that you render every day by coming in and going to work. They pay you for your skills and the fact that you went out and got educated or whatever. You're bringing some type of skills or service to them in order to help them create a product or create a service. And so you shouldn't look at yourself as you shouldn't look at yourself as low on a totem pole, or just because you're not the boss or whatever. You need to understand that you have power as well. So having that confidence to recognize and being able to recognize that is key. So I really appreciate you stating that, or again, and reiterating that for our listeners. So great, excellent. Um, what legacy do you want to leave? Yeah, you're doing all this amazing work. Like, what's the legacy that you want to leave?
I think that's an amazing question. I think about legacy all the time. And one of the reasons why I started Jet Constellations is began to contemplate, what is my life's purpose, right?
Wow.
And I don't know if it's just um, sitting in my cube and working for someone else for the rest of my life, which is okay for some people. But I felt like, you know what? I have certain gifts that God has given me, and I want to realize them, right, and make it make an impact in this world. So,
Mhm.
to answer the question, though, this is a really big one. I think it's just I want people to remember how I've been able to help others um, to realize their own dreams and their own potential. That would be a great legacy to leave behind. And then, of course, of the Milky Way Tech Hub. So there is building my own legacy right now, I guess, and how I've been able to sort of take Milwaukee, currently known as the worst place for Black people to raise children, and shift the narrative to something far better.
And let me ask you this, because what was there a moment for you? Because I know for myself, I can't remember the exact date, but I remember the moment where I had like this thing. I don't know what it was. Tell me that you were going to do something big. Did you have that same moment, or that kind of
No,
epiphany that
it's crazy that you say that because when I was just starting the Milky Way Tech Hub, like there's this feeling, it's like fire shot up in your bones. Like you just can't like explain it, but it's like I knew like I just had the vision. I I had the vision. I was like, this is gonna happen. Like this is I'm about to make this come to life, and it's very exciting. And that in itself is a great motivator.
Yeah, I agree. It's so funny. I actually, before I got into tech, I was actually doing odd end jobs. I did music for a while, um, but early in my life, I was into computers, and then I got out of it for a long time. Um, but then uh, once I started dying down from doing other things and doing music, something hit me that said you are actually going to be doing something in computers, and not just working in computers, but something that is going to impact the community. I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no idea. I felt it, and once it started coming to fruition, it was almost just like you said, kind of like this unbelievable thing where, oh wow, this is it. This is the moment. This is the path right here that I felt early on, and now I'm seeing it happen. And then you have this feeling that that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like things start aligning. Sometimes they align when you don't think they're going to align, and they start to take shape when you think like, hey, like this is actually happening like this. So yeah, I've had that feeling before as well, and like you said, it's a great feeling. It's a great motivator as well. Yeah. So what's next for Jet Constellations?
So much. Um, I'm looking forward to scaling in 2020, um, growing my team a bit more, and just really focusing on, um, as a business, right? Increasing revenue, of course. Um, but for the people part of the company, the Milky Way Tech Hub, touching more schools, right? Educating more students here in the city. Um, I'm looking forward to again scaling our accelerator so we can um, provide more funding to startups, specifically those with social impact, and building a diverse community of techies, right? So having these monthly meetups and continually educating the community on what's possible it's all very exciting work, and I'm just looking to scale every bit of it. So
Tell us how people can get in contact with you, how they can find you on the internet.
yeah. So the best way, to get in contact with me is probably on LinkedIn these days. Uh, so I check my LinkedIn. Well, I like, is it friend? No, it's like accept or connect.
Connection.
I
Yeah.
connect, okay. I connect with people like on a weekly basis, but I respond on a daily basis to my direct messages. Um, once we're connected, another great way to get in contact with me is to email Nadiyah at jetconstellations.com. Or even DM our Instagram, Jet Constellations is another great way.
Excellent. And the website is
JetConstellations.com, or for the Milky Way MKE.com.
mke.com, correct?
The Milky Way MKE.com.
Excellent. Oh, Milky. Okay, gotcha. Excellent.
Yeah.
Are you on Twitter? Is Jet Constellations on Twitter?
Jet Constellations is on Twitter. I have to open up the app because
That's fine.
I'm not so hip to Twitter the way I'd like to be. It's the Milky Way MKE for Jet Constellations as well. And they recently just forced me to get on Twitter as founder, so I'm excited to start tweeting, telling people off in the tech space about diversity in tech and stuff.
Excellent. Well, definitely let's stay in touch. Like I said, I definitely want to help you out. Would love to talk to some of the startups that has been through Milky Way Tech Hub and help them out with a little promotion. So Nadia, I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling us all about your amazing ventures, about Milky Way Tech Hub, about Jet Constellations, and about you in general and your background. So thanks a lot, and much appreciated, and good luck in the future.
Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
Take care.
Okay.
And that is it for this episode of the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. I definitely want to thank our guest, Nadiyah Johnson, for coming on and sharing her journey and her story. She's doing amazing things in Milwaukee, and we definitely look forward to keeping in contact with her. That's it for Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.